So I'm Brian Johnson, and you're watching Better Cocktails at Home. And we're here in our home bar, Quarterdeck Club. It's an awesome place to be. We talk to you about all kinds of things around cocktails, home bartending, that sort of thing. And we're going to continue our kind of theme for January here of going back to some of the core foundational techniques and things of home bartending. And so we're going to talk about jiggers this week and jiggering. So what is jiggering and jigger in kind of modern parlance, if you will? So today's age, home bartending, a jigger is a tool that you use to measure amounts of liquid, or maybe a syrup. I guess it's like a liquid. Jiggering is kind of the act of measuring out your ingredients for a cocktail. Now, historically, I believe jigger was sometimes used as an actual measure. So it would be, I think it was around 1.5 ounces or so. And so you might say something like a jigger of whiskey, and then it's kind of representing an amount. We don't really use it that way anymore. I've also seen stories that it came from the British Royal Navy, and there was a part of a ship called the jiggermast. And so apparently they would call their daily rum ration, they'd get, it'd be a jigger of rum. And so that's another story that I've heard in terms of kind of origination. And so I've seen some just, kind of comes from jig. So jig is kind of a tool. So it's a tool you use for measuring. So, I'm sure there's some really interesting stuff out there. You can really dive into the etymology of it. But we're not going to go quite that far. We're just going to kind of look at a few things around it and kind of talk about why it's so important to home bartending. So jigger. So I have a couple examples of a jigger. So this is one super common one. It's made by a company called Oxo. It's just a little, basically graduated measuring cup. Holds about 2 ounces or so. So most all jiggers can hold about 2 ounces. This one's a vintage style one with kind of steps on them showing the different graduations. This one's kind of a cool one. It's also a vintage style one. It's got the same steps. I believe it's actually the same manufacturer. It's got this cool handle on it though. So you actually fill it up and then you squeeze the handle and it releases from the bottom. So it's kind of fun. The other most common style is the double-ended one. So you've got kind of its sort of a hourglass shape. And so you'll have two measures. So it might be like 1.5 on one side, 1 on the other one. So you can kind of just like flip it quickly. A lot of people like those as well. Another great tool. And so that's kind of some examples of, there's a bunch of jiggers out there. So I'd say find one you like, stick with it, get to really know it, see how it feels in your hands, how it feels to measure it, how it's easy to pour into it, that kind of stuff. And just find one that really works for you. Now, so the act of jiggering, why do we jigger? So we jigger for a few different reasons in a home bar. One is to make sure our measures are consistent. That allows us to make drinks consistently the same way. Right? And obviously you see this, a lot of commercial bars jigger. Some people are very adamant and they don't jigger. It can be a hot topic among people. I think from what I've seen, most people are jiggering in a bar setting. It kind of helps you control costs, make sure you're not over pouring, under pouring, that kind of stuff. Home, it's not as critical for that kind of thing. But I think it helps you make drinks that are very balanced and they're correct, right? And so when we're in a home bar setting, we're using ingredients that are extremely powerful and really flavorful, and maybe calls for 1/4 ounce. Like, you really got to be exact because it can definitely throw off your drink if you're not. So we're going to play a fun little game here. So I've got an old bottle I filled up with some water. So I've been doing this for 15 years now probably, and I've pretty much jiggered since day one. So I've never been a big proponent of free pouring. So we're gonna put these little old-fashioned guys off to the side. Now we're gonna see how well I can pour 2 ounces into this. So we're gonna pour, I'm gonna guess what I think is 2 ounces based on my experience. And then we're gonna see how close I got. And that wasn't too bad. That was probably 2 1/4, maybe 2.5. I'd say maybe between 2 1/4 and 2.5. So that's pretty close. Like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years though. But it's a lot easier, right? If I pour this, I can quickly get 2 ounces. And it's much more exact. Once you pour it in, you know exactly what you're putting in there every time. So yeah, this was, if you want to see this cool vintage one, so this was kind of a fun one. So yeah, you pour your stuff in. I don't know. I don't really use it that much. It's kind of an odd little vintage thing. But yeah, so that's kind of jiggering. I mean, honestly, like, you're going to get far better results from jiggering a cocktail. I highly recommend you do it. I think it's just kind of promotes quality and consistency. And if you're really going to take your home bar to the next level, you're going to need those tools. So yeah, that's all about jiggering and jiggers. I hope to see you on the next episode of Better Cocktails at Home, and thanks so much for watching.